Inner peace is not found, it's built and defended. It's not a coincidence or a luck that only those who meditate on the top of a mountain have. It's a daily decision. And more than that, it's a silent battle. Because we live in a noisy world. People who opine without knowing, networks that absorb even the soul, responsibilities that weigh like stones on the back. Everything pushes, everything demands, everything drains. And if you're not alert, if you don't clean up, if you don't learn to close doors and mouths, you end up empty inside without realizing it. The worst part is that many times the enemy is inside. It's not others, it's you. Saying yes when you wanted to say no. Swallowing words that needed to come out. Waiting for validation from people who don't even understand themselves. And that's where the real work comes in, silently eliminating everything that sabotages your peace. This is not a path for lukewarm people. We're not here to decorate pretty phrases or romanticize suffering. We're here to reclaim what belongs to us. A calm, firm, strong life. A mind that doesn't crumble every time something outside changes. A heart that no longer gives itself to just anyone or kneels for attention. In this video, we're going to talk about 8 Stoic decisions that you can start applying today to protect your peace as if it were a treasure. Because it is. And whoever doesn't understand it, whoever doesn't respect your path, doesn't deserve space in it. 1. Close your mouth and let your actions speak. The mouth is a drum. It makes noise, but it doesn't change anything. You can make it sound all day. You can repeat your plans, your dreams, your intentions. But if your hands don't move, if your feet don't advance, if your discipline doesn't show up, then everything you say is worthless. They're just vibrations in the air. Words thrown into the wind to feel for an instant that you're doing something, when in reality, you're paralyzed. There are those who live talking. They fill their mouths with promises, motivational speeches, plans they never execute. They say they're going to change, they're going to start, they're going to do it differently this time. But Stoicism doesn't feed on promises. It feeds on action, on facts, on what you do when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius said that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. And that's not achieved by arguing, exposing, or shouting your point of view. It's achieved with silence, with a life so solid that it doesn't need to explain itself. A life in which your steps are so firm that they shake more than your words. Close your mouth, not out of fear, not out of submission. Do it for strategy. Do it because you understand that those who talk too much lose strength. Do it because you know that real changes are not announced, they are noticed. And if you have to constantly say what you're doing, maybe you're trying to convince yourself, not the world. The ego wants to be seen. The ego needs applause. The ego wants everyone to know how much you're struggling, how brave you are, how different you want to be. But the soul is at peace when it simply does the right thing without expecting approval. And this is where many people fail, because they feel that if they don't tell it, it's not worth it, as if silence invalidated the effort. But it's just the opposite. It's in silence where real transformations are born. It's in the invisible where the unbreakable is forged. When you focus on acting, on working on yourself, on moving without noise, your life begins to speak for itself. And when that happens, you no longer need to explain anything. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, live it." And that applies to everything. Don't explain your limits, just set them. Don't justify your healing, just do it. Don't try to convince anyone of your process, just keep walking. The one who has eyes to see will see. The one who doesn't matter. Inner peace is built in the spaces where you choose to be silent, where instead of arguing, you observe, where instead of responding, you smile and continue your journey, where you stop trying to prove your worth and simply embody it, day by day, without spectacle, without announcements, without unnecessary show. Make your life evidence, not an exhibition. Let your actions say what your lips no longer need to pronounce. Let your silence be so powerful that it discomforts those who expected to see you crawling for attention. Let every step you take be a complete sentence, clear, firm, forceful. Because when you choose to be silent and act, you're demonstrating one of the most important virtues of the Stoic, self-control. And with that, you're closer to true peace. 2. Block access to those who only show up when there's something to gain. Imagine that your inner peace is a house, not just any house, but a house built with effort, brick by brick over the years. Each boundary you set, each wound you healed, each truth you accepted was part of its structure. And now that it finally begins to feel like a home, visitors arrive. Not to share the table, not to contribute. They arrive with empty hands and full intentions. They want to enter, but only to take. Life is full of that kind of people. They are like flies on an open wound. They don't show up when you're doing well. They don't help to build. They're not there to clean up the mess. They only show up when they smell blood, when they detect an opportunity, when they think they can get something from you. Your energy, your attention, your time, your money, your validation. And if you're not awake, if you don't learn to recognize them in time, you end up drained, broken, with the house looted. The Stoic does not close himself off to the world, but neither does he leave the doors open for anyone. He learns to read intentions, to observe patterns, to identify those who only approach out of self-interest. And when he does, he doesn't make a fuss. He doesn't demand explanations. He doesn't create dramas. He simply closes off access, quietly, without guilt, without speeches. Because protecting your peace also means protecting your space, your time, your mental energy. You can't build a solid life if you're surrounded by people who only show up when it suits them. You can't move forward if you have to drag those who never walk with you, but always ask you to carry them. Be brutally honest with yourself. Who are with you only when you have something to give? Who disappear when you most need support? Who see you as a resource and not as a person? These are the people you need to block, not on social networks, but in your reality. Don't feel bad about closing doors. You're protecting yourself. You're taking care of a land that cost you a lot to sow. Not everyone deserves access to your life, and that doesn't make you selfish. It makes you aware. It makes you strong. Seneca said that life is long enough if it is well used, and allowing empty people to absorb your time is wasting that life. It's giving pieces of yourself to those who don't even know how to value their own. It's letting others take from you what you're not even ready to give. Start treating your energy as something sacred. Your attention, your presence, your support, they're not free. Not for those who only show up when you shine. Start noticing who celebrates your achievements without feeling overshadowed. Who calls you just to know how you're doing, without asking for anything in return? Who stays when there's nothing to gain? These are the people who deserve a place in your house. And if there's no one like that for now, that's okay. Silence is better than self-interested company. Chosen solitude is 1,000 times healthier than an empty crowd. Learning to be with yourself, without being drained, is one of the bravest acts you can do. Your peace is a limited territory. You can't let just anyone step on it. There are doors that need to be closed and locks that need to be put on, even if it hurts. Because if you don't do it, no one else will. And then you'll keep getting caught in the same cycle, giving to those who don't deserve, expecting from those who can't, falling over and over again into the same hole. Today is the day to change that. Without warnings, without speeches, without needing to fight, just act, block the access and rebuild in silence. 3. Break the habit of betraying yourself with a yes. Every time you say yes, wanting to say no, it's as if you're signing a contract against yourself. You don't see it, no alarm sounds, nobody notices. But inside you, something breaks. Small, almost imperceptible. A crack in your integrity, a silent betrayal that accumulates with each concession you make just for fear of inconveniencing, disappointing, or looking bad. The problem is that we have learned to associate yes with kindness, with courtesy, with acceptance, as if a person's worth were measured by how much they can give in, how much they can endure, how many times they can put themselves in the background without making a noise. But that's a perfect formula for resentment, exhaustion, and loss of identity. Saying yes to avoid external conflict creates a much worse internal conflict, one that accumulates day after day until you realize that you are living a life that doesn't resemble you, working on what doesn't fulfill you, hanging out with people who don't inspire you, doing favors you don't want to do, accepting conditions that drain you, just to sustain an image that doesn't even represent you. Stoicism doesn't ask you to be cruel. It asks you to be firm, to live according to your principles, not others' expectations, that your word carries weight, that your no is as sacred as your yes. Because when you say yes to yourself, to your peace, to your boundaries, to your real needs, everything starts to fall into place. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you honest. It makes you free. It makes you strong. It's an act of respect towards you and also towards the other. Because accepting what you don't want, pretending to agree, participating from discomfort, in the end, is a form of lying. And the Stoic doesn't lie. Not because they're afraid of being found out, but because they know that living in truth is the only path to internal coherence. Have you realized how many times you've said yes just out of fear? Fear of them getting angry, fear of being excluded, fear of them thinking ill of you, but that fear doesn't disappear with each false yes. On the contrary, it feeds, it strengthens, until it ends up controlling you completely, and there you're not choosing. You're reacting. You're obeying a desperate need to please. Courage is not in saying yes to everything. Courage is in saying no when you know that's the right thing, even if your voice shakes, even if there are consequences, even if you lose things or people along the way. Because what you lose when you are true to yourself was never really yours. And what stays is what's worth keeping. Don't betray yourself anymore. Don't keep giving space in your life to decisions that don't represent you. Every time you accept something that hurts you, you become an accomplice to your own suffering, and that has to end. Not tomorrow, today. Start with the small things. Say no to what you can't, to what you don't want, to what deeply discomforts you. Without shouting, without justifying yourself, just say it, calmly, with conviction, with the tranquility of someone who has decided that their peace is not negotiable. Because true freedom is not in being able to say yes to everything. It's in having the courage to say no without feeling guilty. There begins your power. There begins the respect for yourself, and there, exactly there, begins the reconstruction of your inner peace. 4. Kick down the door of the now and step in, even if everything shakes. Imagine you're in front of a door, not just any door, but a huge, heavy one, rusted by fear and doubt. Behind that door is the now, the present, the only real thing. But instead of opening it decisively, you stand there staring, thinking, doubting, making plans, lists, excuses, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. Because the truth is this, the now is not opened with kindness. The now is kicked open. We live trapped in the later, when I'm ready, when I have time, when everything is calmer. And in that wait, life slips away. We continue to give power to the past that no longer exists and fear to the future that has not yet arrived. But we never act here, in the only place where we really have control. The Stoic understands that the present is not a suggestion, it's an obligation. Epictetus made it clear, you have no power over what has already happened or what has not yet happened. You only have this instant. And if you don't use it, if you don't conquer it, you lose it. Period. But the present is scary because it demands action, because it allows no excuses, because it looks you in the face and says, do it now or shut up forever. And many people are not ready for that. They prefer the comfort of thought, the warmth of complaint, the refuge of the known, even if it hurts. You have to understand something. Fear does not go away before you act. Fear goes away when you act. And many times, it doesn't even go away. You just learn to move with it on top, to do things with shaking hands, to move forward with a pounding heart, with a broken voice, with doubts in your head, but to move forward in the end. Entering the now is deciding that you are no longer going to postpone what you know you have to do. It's looking your excuses in the face and telling them you no longer have power over me. It's stopping consulting your fear with every step you take. It's living as if your life depended on this moment, because it does. Do you want to regain your inner peace? Then start acting. Not tomorrow, not when you have more confidence, not when everything is aligned. Now, make that call, write that message, finish that project, let go of that weight, speak that truth, start that change. Do it even if it hurts. Do it even if you're not ready, because if you keep waiting to feel prepared, you're going to wait your whole life. Action is medicine. It cures mental paralysis, anxiety, the feeling of being trapped. Every step you take in the present builds firmness, strength, clarity, and above all, it gives you back control. You're no longer at the mercy of the past. You're no longer fearing the future. You're acting, you're deciding, you're living. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Arise, man, and do what nature demands of you." And what does nature demand? That you act, that you make decisions, that you don't run away from life, because running away from the present is running away from yourself. Kick that door. Don't wait for it to open on its own. Don't pray for someone else to do it for you. There is no one else. This moment is yours. It doesn't matter if you feel like you can't. You do it anyway. Because that's the difference between those who build their peace and those who just wish for it. Some act, others wait. 5. Silence the voice that lives to destroy you. Inside you there is a voice. It's not external. It doesn't shout. It doesn't appear suddenly. It's subtle. It's like a constant drop falling on the same stone. At first you barely notice it. Then it starts to hurt. It speaks to you when you fail, when you doubt, when you make mistakes. It doesn't encourage you. It doesn't lift you up. It buries you. That voice is not your conscience. It's your executioner. That voice feeds on fear, guilt, past mistakes. It's the sum of everything others told you that you were and you accepted without questioning. You're not enough. You'll never make it. You always mess it up. You don't need external enemies when inside you there's a mind that repeats these phrases as if they were the absolute truth. But they're not. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." And yet, many forget that those thoughts can be questioned, that not everything you think is true, that not everything you feel has a real basis. But if you don't do that work, if you don't learn to identify that destructive voice, you end up obeying it. You become a slave to your own mind. There is a big difference between being self-demanding and being self-destructive. The former wants you to improve, the latter wants you to sink. The former confronts you with the intention of making you grow. The latter attacks you until you freeze. And the problem is that this destructive voice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, and it does so with words so familiar that you confuse them with your identity. Stoic practice does not seek to turn you into a stone without emotions. It seeks for you to be aware of what is happening inside you so that you are not dominated by it. This includes your darkest thoughts, your most limiting beliefs, your most harmful narratives. You have to learn to listen to what you tell yourself when you're alone. Do you speak to yourself with respect or with contempt? Do you treat yourself as you would treat someone you love or as you would treat an enemy? Because the way you talk to yourself is the environment in which you live. And if that inner voice is a battlefield, your peace will never grow there. Silencing that voice doesn't mean ignoring it, but confronting it, asking where it comes from, who installed it. when it started to speak louder than your own will. Maybe it was a figure from the past. Maybe it was years of unresolved failures. Maybe it was you. It doesn't matter. What matters is that today you can choose to stop listening to it. Change the dialogue, not with empty phrases, not with cardboard self-help, with truth, with evidence, with facts. Every time that voice says you can't, remind it of the times you could. Every time it insults you, respond with compassion. Every time it minimizes you, stand firm, because the most important battle is not against the world. It's against the version of you that wants to see you fall. Seneca said that it's not what happens to us that affects us, but what we tell ourselves about what happens to us. And if what you tell yourself about yourself is poison, you can't expect to have a peaceful life. Changing that is your responsibility. No one is going to do it for you. Today, now, start dismantling that voice. Write it down, read it, destroy it, and replace it with another. Not a perfect one. Not one that tells you everything is fine. One that reminds you that you're on your way, that you've fallen, yes, but you're still standing. That you deserve to speak to yourself with the same firmness with which you defend those you love, because you also deserve your respect. And that destructive voice simply no longer has a place here. 6. Stop translating yourself for minds that will never understand you. Imagine speaking in your native language in front of a crowd that only understands another. You strain, you gesture, you repeat. You try to explain it in 1,000 ways, but in the end, you only see blank stares. People who don't want to understand just judge. And the worst part is that you start to doubt yourself, to think that maybe you're saying something wrong, that maybe the problem is you. That's how we live many times, trying to translate our essence, our decisions, our boundaries, to please those who don't even make the slightest effort to understand us. People who don't listen to connect, but to correct. Who don't ask to know, but to judge. And so, without realizing it, you start to dilute yourself, to soften your words, your ideas, your choices, to disguise yourself to fit in. But the truth is this: you're not made to be understood by everyone. And that's not a flaw. It's a sign that you're being authentic, because those who live from the truth are uncomfortable. They break expectations, they disarm labels, and that bothers. The mediocre, those who live from the image, those who only validate what is familiar to them. The Stoic doesn't seek approval. He doesn't need everyone to understand his path. He needs consistency, not applause. He needs firmness, not likes, because his life is not a spectacle. It's a daily practice, a silent commitment to what he considers right, even if no one else sees it that way. Do you know how much time you waste trying to explain yourself? Justifying your decisions, arguing why you no longer keep quiet, why you set boundaries, why you left certain places or people behind. And do you know what you get in return? Nothing. Only more misunderstanding, more judgment, more wear and tear. Because no matter how hard you try, there are people who are not going to understand you. Not because you're complex, but because they're not willing to look beyond their small mental world. And as long as you keep trying to make them do so, you'll keep postponing your peace. Because that peace comes when you stop accounting for the noise. When you decide to live in your truth, even if no one applauds. When you accept that being misunderstood is the price of being real. Don't wear yourself out trying to explain your evolution to those who have stagnated. Don't lower the volume of your voice to fit into ears that only tolerate the comfortable. Don't soften your decisions to avoid disturbing those who no longer have a place in your life. Your path is yours. Your processes are yours. Your growth, your wounds, your silent victories, all of that is your story, and you don't need to translate it for anyone. The one who wants to understand you will do so from empathy, not from judgment. The one who values you doesn't need you to justify yourself. They just observe and understand everything. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should not waste time debating what a good person should be. We should simply be one. And in the same sense, stop arguing about who you are. Just be, just act, just keep walking without looking back, without asking for permission, without apologizing for being you. There is freedom in stopping translating yourself. There is peace in stopping convincing. And there is power in walking firmly, even when no one understands where you are going. So stop adjusting your soul for small minds. Whoever sees you from ignorance doesn't deserve explanations. They deserve distance. And you deserve the silence that is felt when at last you stop begging to be understood and simply decide to live in your truth. 7. Stop the replay of what should already be buried. Your mind is like a theater, and there's a show that repeats itself over and over again. The memory, that painful scene, that unfinished conversation, that mistake you can't let go of. Day after day, night after night, you press the same play button and you relive it all. Even though it's over, even though you can't change anything, even though it's just wearing you down from the inside. The mind has a habit of going back to the past in the hope of changing it. But that's a trap. You don't go back to the past to fix it. You go back to punish yourself, to feel guilty, to relive what hurt, to justify yourself, or to hate yourself more. And that, more than healing, destroys. Stoicism does not deny the past, but it puts it in its place. It recognizes it as something that no longer has power except the one you give it. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, constantly reminded himself not to be dragged by what has already been, because every time he did, he gave away the only moment he really had, the present. And you, how many times a day do you disconnect from the now to look back? How many times do you punish yourself for something that has already happened, for someone who has already left, for a decision you can't undo? How much space do you leave free to build your life if every corner of your mind is occupied by ghosts? Reliving the past is like opening a wound that has already healed just to check if it still hurts. And of course it hurts, because you don't give it rest, because you keep it alive by force, because you use it as an excuse not to move forward, not to trust, not to risk again. But there's something you need to understand. Remembering is not healing. Healing is to stop needing to remember. Healing is to close the cycle firmly. It's burying what hurts and not going back with flowers every day. It's understanding that the past is not going to apologize. It's not going to explain. It's not going to give you the peace you expect. That peace only comes when you decide to stop looking back. The decision is in you. You can stay in loop, repeating the same scenes until you wear out, or you can turn off the show, leave the theater, and start writing something new. Something that is not contaminated by what you were. Something that doesn't give space to those who are no longer there. You are not your mistake. You are not your loss. You are not that old version of you that didn't know how to do better. Today, you are someone different, more aware, stronger, more awake, and you deserve a life that is not tied to what has already been. So today, without ceremonies, stop the replay. Stop opening that box that only holds pain. Stop analyzing every word, every gesture, every decision from the past. It's done. It's over. It doesn't matter anymore. The only thing that matters now is what you are going to build with what you learned. Choose to stop dragging what should be buried, because as long as you keep carrying it, your peace will be impossible. But when you let it go, when you finally bury it, you will realize that it was never as heavy as you made it feel. It was just a memory, and you, much more than that. 8. Sweep the house from the inside and get rid of what empties you. Imagine your inner self as a house, not the one you show when visitors come, not the one you clean on the outside to make it look presentable. I'm referring to the real one, the one where you keep everything you don't want to see. Drawers full of guilt, rooms filled with resentment, dark corners where you hide thoughts that embarrass you. And there you are, trying to live in peace, in a house that inside is a mess. Do you really expect to feel light if you haven't swept anything? Do you expect clarity while you accumulate emotional garbage year after year? It doesn't work like that. Nobody can build well-being from inner neglect. Sooner or later, what you don't clean contaminates you. What you don't organize entangles you. What you don't let go destroys you. Peace is not something that simply appears. It is created. And to create it, you first have to clean, empty. Review what you carry and ask yourself a brutally honest question. Does this fill me or empty me? There are thoughts that empty you, ideas that you carry like chains, beliefs that were never yours, but you adopted as truth. You have to sweep that away. There are emotions that have become ingrained, angers you didn't express, griefs you didn't finish, guilt that doesn't belong to you. Sweep that too. And yes, there are also people. Some that you got used to having close, but that long ago stopped adding. Relationships that no longer nourish, only wear out. Bonds based on duty, fear, or habit. And there you are, with the door open, letting them in and taking your energy whenever they want. Until when? Cleaning from the inside is an act of self-love, but also of courage. Because by doing so, you confront yourself with your history, with your mistakes, with your shadows. But you also make room. You give yourself air. You give yourself the opportunity to be free. Don't wait to hit rock bottom to do it. You don't need a crisis to realize that you have let too many unnecessary things in. Do it now, in silence, without drama. Just you with yourself. Close your eyes and walk through your interior like someone exploring an old house, and start sweeping. Remove the need to please, the fear of rejection, the resentment towards those who didn't give you what you needed, the guilt for choosing yourself, the hatred for what didn't go as planned. All that weighs, all that takes up space that you could use for something better. Do you want to live in peace? Then become a guardian of your mental and emotional space. Don't let any thought in. Don't allow just anyone to settle in your life. Don't get used to chaos just because it's familiar to you. Clean like someone who protects their temple, because that's what you are, a temple, not an emotional dump, not an abandoned house, a sacred place. And you don't need to explain it to anyone. You don't have to give reasons for stopping responding, for taking distance, for changing habits, for starting anew. The cleaning is internal, private, deep. It doesn't justify itself, it's done. When you really sweep, not only does the dirt go away, clarity also returns, lightness, calm. And there, in that new space you build within you, something priceless begins to bloom. Peace. Not the one you pretend so they don't ask, the real one. The one that is born when you dare to keep only what nourishes you. So do it. Today, sweep from the inside, and if it hurts, let it hurt, because after that, you're going to breathe differently. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. If you watched the whole thing, comment, "I am Stoic," as our secret signal to know that you're a true student of Stoicism. Don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. See you in the next video, and remember, keep cultivating your Stoic mind.